this road, no matter how hard this struggle, the one thing we can never, ever do is give in. We have to always struggle and never give in. So instead of a State of the Union address, which most leaders start out with, I think I'm going to give a State of the Struggle address. Because I'm both fortunate and unfortunate. I happen to live in Washington, D.C., and that's real good because it's a chocolate city. It's a city of 80% black people. It's a city where all the elected officials are black with the exception of a few. It's a city that's never voted Republican. It's a city that did not support Reagan. It's a city that did not support Bush. But it was also a city that was held hostage last week. It was held hostage to an obscene $35 million inauguration of George Bush as the President of the United States. We feel that the way they did that was an act of deliberate humiliation to us, the people of Washington, who did not vote for Bush, yet we had to watch our children get shot in a schoolyard while the police were protecting George Bush. And our tax dollars were paying those police officers. We had to watch ourselves not even go down the very streets that we pay for, while America celebrates its racism, its sexism, its militarism, its capitalism. If they wanted to spend $35 billion, why didn't they spend it on the 22,000 homeless people that were lining the parade route?
Yeah.
They didn't even think about it. They thought about arresting them so that it wouldn't look bad for the TV audience. It was an obscene celebration. And it was even made more obscene because in that crowd, there were some confused black people cheering their little hearts out. I say confused because these black people clearly don't understand where their own race, class, and gender interests are. Because if they're standing on Pennsylvania Avenue cheering for George Bush, I mean, we're talking about George Bush, the former director of the CIA, a player in the Iran-Contra scandal, a legacy of Ronald Reagan, a man who is pushing upper, rich, white American values down our throats, and we got black folks, poor as me, one paycheck from poverty, standing up there and cheering on George Bush. I don't think those people could see the really painful and terrible irony that in the same week that we celebrate the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King, they are celebrating the election of George Bush for president. That is a terrible irony that we black people had to live through in the same week. Now, I don't want y'all to get me wrong because I was at inauguration. I go to all the inaugurations. I consider it a high point of my protest career to go to the inauguration. And I was with the National Organization for Women because we were fighting for women's rights. And we had over 1,000 people at that protest at the inauguration. And we had signs up talking about peace, justice, equality, freedom, free Nelson Mandela, free Winnie Mandela from that so-called house arrest, free our people. And the only thing those black folks in the crowd could say to us was, get those signs down, you are blocking my view. What do you say to folks like that? To the working people of D.C., the 80% black people who did not, as I said, and would not ever vote for a racist like George Bush, we don't know where to take this. We don't know if America thinks because we didn't erupt like Miami that we are complacent in this situation. We just don't know where to take this. We did remember and talk a lot about what was happening with the brothers and sisters down in Miami fighting against police brutality. Two brothers, y'all know the story, two brothers riding a motorcycle, one gets shot in the head, one gets crushed by the motorcycle, two black men dead for the crime of driving without a driver's license. Now tell me, America, when's the last time a white man's gotten shot for not having a driver's license? I'd like to ask you that one. And then they tried to portray this as a race war between blacks and Hispanics. Obviously, because we don't speak any struggle between two groups of people, and the white power structure in the police department really has nothing to do with this. But we know better. It is a race war. They're right on that one. But the war is not between blacks and Hispanics, I tell you that one. The war is between the whites who have the power and the blacks and the Hispanics who suffer under that power. And because they use an Hispanic cop as their weapon to kill two black men does not make it a war between blacks and Hispanics. And it was done out of the paranoia the police had, because they were desperate to keep the peace at any cost on the eve of the American orgasm of capitalism they called the Super Bowl. They didn't want anything to happen that would portray the problems of Miami in a light that was real, that was honest, and that was not overshadowed by the glitter of whether Joe Montana would score a touchdown with Jerry Rice. But I must say, about the Super Bowl on a funny level, one of the things I did find fairly humorous was that in the reports after the Super Bowl, wide receiver Jerry Rice, who did receive the Most Valuable Player award, his first statement to the press after getting the award was, "Watch the white boy get all the press." Have y'all been reading that? So even when you play the man's game, even when you score the man's touchdown, even when you make sure that all the bettors in Las Vegas make a whole bunch of money, you still don't get your reward, poor Jerry. I wonder if Jerry's going to apply for the Organization of Black Struggle the next time he gets an MVP award, because it sounds like he needs it. But I do want to talk about black politicians, because when you talk about the black struggle, you certainly have to talk about the people in whom we've invested our hopes and our dreams, and most importantly, our money and our votes. I want to look at what's happening to them. When our politicians aren't acting like total fools, and y'all know we got a few out there that are acting like total fools. I should say I'm from Washington, D.C. Y'all been hearing about what's happening in Washington, D.C. and our mayor and all his problems. But when they ain't out there being corrupt, when they ain't out there being immoral or being on drugs or being manipulated by big business, we're finding that the rest of them are under a constant attack. A constant, not so subtle attack. Right here in the St. Louis area, you have Mayor Carl Officer, who's being attacked for incompetence. When the real deal is that he won't give in to the developers who want to make a couple of $1 million off of developing the riverfront. Who's going to stand up and defend this man? And this is not an isolated incident. Let's talk about our Mayor Barry. 1 week before they published this alleged story about the alleged drugs and going to the hotel to meet a friend and the whole 9 yards, the business section of the Washington Post revealed that the black share in city contracts, which represents millions of dollars, has risen over 120% during the 10 years Marion Barry has been in office. That means that of the contracts the city of Washington, D.C. now allocates, 60% of these contracts now go to black businesses. This is a tremendous increase from the less than 8% that were happening when he first took office. Concomitantly, the white share of city contracts has dropped from the embarrassing 92% it was to now below 30%. I don't think that it was a coincidence that we read this story in the business section of the Washington Post, and then a week later we read a drug story about our mayor on the front page of the Washington Post. Now, I can't defend the indefensible. Barry has a whole lot of cleaning up of his act to do before I consider him a role model. But I don't believe that the contracting situation is unrelated to why they're attacking him. And as if to validate my belief, less than a week ago, the Supreme Court rules against affirmative action minority, contracting, and we're supposed to think all of this stuff is unrelated. You know, these dollars ain't really got nothing to do with the fact that this man is reputed to do all these things. What we have is two types of black politicians. Those who have sold out to white America, to corporate America, and their entire function is to keep us in our place, to keep us from organizing our true liberation struggle, to keep us from seeing the real deal behind that black face they put in front of us. But the other type of black politician is the one under constant attack. They're the loose cannons white America is so afraid of because they can't be controlled. They enjoy the support of black people. They're trying to play their role in the black liberation struggle. And they are trying to do it with honesty, integrity, and determination. And I want to stop right there and say this again. We have to make sure we are there to back up the black politicians who come up and try to defend us. And this brings me to something that happened when I was at the Democratic Convention, because I was in Atlanta. I was as sad as any other woman who calls herself a Jessie Crab. When we got to the Democratic Convention, and our leader, Jesse Jackson, said, well, it looks like we're going to vote for Michael Dukakis. And I started gagging like, ew, God, here's oatmeal man again. When the Democrats, if they got to give us a white boy, why don't they give us a winnable white boy? I mean, why are they always doing this to us? Now, what happened in the black caucuses? In the black caucuses, next thing you know, all these different Negroes come up here with plans. First of all, how they were going to discredit Jesse for saying that we should back Dukakis. Secondly, they were talking about, well, I think we should go to the Republican Party because it looks like they listen to us seriously. Blah, 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 blah. We spent hours in the black caucus. Not talking about the inadequacies of the caucus that brought us to that place, but the alleged inadequacies of Jackson. I am so pissed at them people. Because Jesse is our leader, and we made him our leader, and you don't let white people unmake your leadership by getting into fighting about what Jesse tells you to do. Because if you got a problem with Jesse, take it to Jesse. Don't sit up here and take it to the media. Don't sit up here and take it to the street. I found that he'll listen, but take it to him. You know, we spent more time trying to keep black folks from not breaking up the black voting block. We had it. We got it. But we break it up around who is who and who ain't who and who is he. You know, my position, Dukakis was not a big enough issue for us to talk about splitting amongst ourselves over anything. And we need to understand that. I'm going to shift a little bit and talk about the discussion of black role models, because we've talked a lot about that today. I think we witnessed the development of new black role models for these kids. And I guess I want to stop and say, what do we mean by black role model? Because for me, a black role model is these youth that were standing up here who are showing other youth what needs to be done. How many of you young people were sitting out there saying, dang, I wish I was up there. Dang, I wish I had the nerve to say them kinds of speeches. Dang, I wish somebody would validate me like that. That's the role models I'm talking about. I'm not negating the contributions of the people we know about, the Nelsons, the Winnies, the Martins. I'm not denying them. But I want to talk about the brothers and sisters we have right here as role models. People need role models, there's no arguing that. How do you know where to go, what path to follow if you don't have somebody to lead the way? And that's the role of a role model. But right now, we have to be careful not to view role models as a panacea for change in our communities. It's not that simple to solve our problem, because if that was the case, we would not be in the situation we're in now, because we have had some great black men and women through our history, and we continue to have great black men and women in our need for role models, I almost hear them saying that means we don't have great black men and women. And I know that ain't true, because we've always had them. We have to understand that we have to redefine that concept of role models. We have to remind our children that all the role models that they'll ever need in life are right here in this room with them. That's right. The women who say, listen, hon, I know it's going to be rough, but I'm going to work every day to make sure you get that scholarship to college. The brothers who work 2 and 3 jobs, cleaning toilets, hauling trash cans, doing whatever they can, so that their children can have a prom night or a class ring. These are all the role models we need. And we need to stop undervaluing the importance of people like Jamala Rogers, like Babatu, like Sule, like Jahari. These are people right here. You can reach out and touch them. Why you got to bring me from Washington, D.C.? I don't even know that. But you can reach out, get a telephone, and touch that woman right there. She's the most accessible woman I know, if you got good intentions. Now, don't mess with her. If you don't. But we've got these role models right here. They're in the struggle for freedom. I want to really pay attention to something that's really close to my heart. One of the things I find is that we in the black community are very, very vulnerable to divide and conquer tactics. And because I am a lifelong activist, I am a lifelong feminist, I am a lifelong believer in the victory of black people, I want to talk a little bit about something that is very close to me. And that is the ongoing specific oppression that is directed towards black women. And I'm not doing this in a divide and conquer type way. There is a specific set of oppression that is directed towards black men that needs to be addressed. Black men who are the prison population, black men who get gunned down for not having a driver's license, black men who don't know where their children are, black men who don't know where the next dollar's gonna come from unless they stand on a corner and hustle some crack. Black men have a specific set of oppression that they need to deal with. But I'm not a man, so I'm talking about women, and that's my prerogative. I think we're in an era of what I call neo-Moynihanism. Y'all remember Daniel Patrick Moynihan? The wonderful man who, as his reward for trashing black women, got elected to Congress. In 1965, he published a report that says that black women were the cause of underdevelopment of the black community. His analysis said that overly matriarchal black women were emasculating black men. In other words, we weren't allowing the men to grow up to be the strong workers that we were apparently. We were creating a tangle of pathologies in black families. In essence, he said that the strength of black women that has gotten us this far is our worst enemy. And we had to understand that, take it in. Even more, he believed that the government should give black men more power over black women by giving black men jobs that were formerly held by black women and by forcing black men to become, quote, the economic backbone of their families. This would allow them the opportunity to, quote, again, imitate the behavior of white men of the 50s and 60s and to rule the roost. In other words, the plan apparently was, well, the problem was, according to Moynihan, that black men aren't sexist enough to be real Americans. I mean, that's what I heard him saying, right? And the solution is make them more sexist, and if they become more sexist and become more violent and become more oblivious to the condition of their women, then we can let them into the good old boys game, and possibly, we can save the black family. It was a good analysis if you were a racist white person. I think he did leave one particular point out of it, and that is that there's no condition in America that can be created where white men are going to gladly embrace black men as economic equals. There's no scenario you can create that will let that happen. The most they will give you is equal opportunity to oppress. Understand that. But you will never, ever, playing his games, get equal opportunity to succeed. And we need to understand that. Now, the reason I raised something that happened nearly 20 years ago is because it's come full circle. It's come back around. Last week, one of the black tokens at the Washington Post, Cortland Malloy, who's usually a pretty nice fellow. You know, if you call Portland and you want to cover your community event, he'll come on out and cover it. So I had a whole lot of respect for Cortland until he said that the reason we have a drug problem in the black community is these black female single heads of households who apparently don't know how to get any mates, and because we apparently don't know how to get any mates, we need to, and this is another problem, repeal the sex provision of all civil rights laws so that black men are given preference in hiring over black women in the job market. And this is the way to address the drug problem. But see, I want to quote for a minute Jesse on the drug problem. Like Jesse said, I don't know a black person in America that can launder billions of dollars on the drug problem. So who is he fooling? That if you made every woman in this room unemployed, that's going to automatically make the drug problem go away? And then they've got men who, quote, they hold up to us as role models. Cortland Malloy been at the Washington Post 10, 15 years, you know, that he keeps invited to speak and run this BS about black women being the problem in the black community. Currently, the Reagan-appointed Supreme Court is busy reversing every legal victory we as a people and we as black women have had in the last 20 years. As I mentioned before, just last week, they struck down affirmative action in minority contracting. 2 days after George Bush was elected, the Solicitor General, appointed by Reagan, used the Missouri law to try to overturn Roe v. Wade, the decision in 1973 that legalized abortion. And these events are not unconnected. They are seeking to return to an era of white privilege, an era where white men made all the money, white women stayed at home and had babies, and black people did like they did in the song, Just Stay Back. Now, what do we do in the face of this crisis? Do we stand aside and let police continue their war against our people? Do we let racist, I must say racist, anti-abortionists shut down the primary health care facilities that black people use nowadays? And I want to talk about why I think that is so racist. I spend a lot of time on the front line of clinics trying to keep family planning clinics open because I'm no fool. We got a teen pregnancy problem. We got teenagers who are sexually active, and anybody that don't know that is lunching, you know, on a serious level. And because we've got sexually active teenagers, we have to have sex education, we have to have family planning, we have to have that A word called abortion. And people are trying to run from that, like, you know, if you mention it or if you acknowledge that reality, the problem's gonna go away, but the problem ain't going nowhere. These kids are still here. We just had a rites of passage. I'd like to know how many children we just put through that rites of passage are gonna be sexually active within the next 2 years. Understand this. And so you get these mobs of white men standing at these clinics saying, baby murderer, you do this. We're like Martin Luther King. We are protecting the rights of the unborn and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Now these same men that stand in front of these clinics, and they're almost universally white, but once in a while they'll have one little black man or black woman up there for a token. I'd like to know where they are when we're standing on the steps of the Capitol demanding feeding programs for children. I want to know where they are when we're trying to open up a school-based health clinic so that women can get heart exams and blood pressure exams and contraceptive information. Where are they when the infant mortality rate in Washington, D.C. resembles that of Guatemala? Where are they? stillborn in America except to think that we have too many. I really think that their move to shut down abortion in America is around their fears that the white population in America is shrinking. White women just ain't having enough babies for them. And this is all a move to control white women, of which we're going to be the victims, because the white women's going to still go to Canada and get their abortions. We the ones that are going to suffer. And we can't even go across town to get an abortion. We ain't got those kinds of resources. I'm going to try to close because I can talk all day. I'd like to know what we do for the future. I'm real concerned that we may be forced to put up with opportunists like Al Sharpton. You know, I'm so happy that the people in Miami told that boy to turn around and get out of town. I don't know what to do. Because I think he is that worst kind of political opportunist. A person that sees a crisis, try to move in on it, but won't do nothing really to help the people. We work very closely in trying to follow the Tawana Brawley case. And the man did not even arrange for Tawana to get rape counseling, yet he gonna be up there constantly saying that he is doing what he does in the interest of Tawana Brawley. Well, any woman that's been raped by 6 men needs counseling. Why don't you take care of her before you try to take care of yourself? He can never see that. So I think we need to develop new leaders. I think we need to develop new vision for our struggle. I think we need to develop a vision that is not empty rhetoric, a vision that does not simply have a charismatic leader at the helm and no substance at the hind parts. I think we need to develop a new method. I think we need a vision that looks into the bright, hopeful faces of our youth sitting over at the table and the youth sitting around the room. Because we've got to make these children a promise that they're going to have a better tomorrow than what we had. And to do that, we have to commit our lives to that future for that better tomorrow. I think we need to share important programs like this, like the Rites of Passage that we just experienced, because it is not only important to celebrate with our youth, it is important to validate our youth. Because we're living in an era where they are treated as disposable commodities. Understand that. They are treated as if their lives are not important, as if the fact that they want to wear a weird haircut is not important. If that boy want to cut his hair like that, let him, because that's part of his passage into manhood. And understand that. But we don't validate our children. So we're going to have to develop a vision that helps validate our children. We must be there for our children. We can't do any less than live up to the motto that they just made and committed to live up to in front of us. We've got to honor them with our work, and I have every confidence and every belief that our children will honor us with their work. But they will not only honor us, they will honor their ancestors, they will honor each other, and they will honor the black struggle. But for that to happen, we have to, with them, create a new vision. Because the ways we've tried in the past aren't working anymore. The people that we thought we could count on, they're not there for us anymore. So we have to create these new leaders, these new vision, and this new struggle. I want to close by saying that the struggle to defend women's rights and a woman's right to control her body is going to take a new high, reach a new plateau on April 9th. I'm working with a coalition of organizations organized by the National Organization for Women to bring 250,000 people to Washington, D.C. to protest what the Supreme Court is trying to do to reverse Roe v. Wade. Because we need to understand one thing, and I'll really shut up now after this, that if they take away the right for a woman to have an abortion, that will have a domino effect on everything else a woman does with her life, because most of us don't realize that the right to use birth control is tied up in that right. And if you can't use birth control, how in the world are you going to complete your college education when you're sexually active? So if one thing falls, it's going to all fall, and just watch it domino over. I have a son in college now. I think the thing I am most scared of, that he tells me that after all these years of sacrifice, he ain't going to be able to graduate because somebody is pregnant. I am scared to death of that happening, and every one of you sitting in this room ought to be scared. You ought to be scared, because it can happen. We know that education is the way out of this madness, out of this poverty, and yet we are weak when it comes to making sure that our children don't have barriers like unnecessary pregnancies that keep them from getting their education. And so I want to invite all of y'all to come work with us and participate in this March for Women's Lives. When we announced that we were doing this march, the very first person who called us to endorse this march was the Reverend Jesse Jackson. The very first entertainer who called us and told us that they wanted to perform was Tracy Chapman. Let's give a hand to Tracy. And she's a young woman that's making it and making it big and making it bad. Tracy Chapman is the first musician I've heard that me and my son agree on. Understand that? And she got message music out there. None of this, I want to rub a dub up your leg stuff. She is out there singing about the struggle. And so I'll close, let y'all get to the rest of your program. Again, I want to thank the Organization for Black Struggle for having me. I want to thank y'all for showing up. I think this is a wonderful crowd. I think we have wonderful kids. And we're going to have a wonderful time because I want the rockers to come back. Thank you.
Thank you, Loretta. And Loretta was asking why did she have to come all the way here. A lot of times we don't appreciate what we have here. We really don't, because I know, and probably Loretta can verify this, that most of her speaking engagements are probably outside of the Washington, D.C. area, correct? Just like most of mine are outside of St. Louis. So a lot of times people appreciate you more outside. And so sometimes we have to bring people in, not only to acknowledge what the work that they're doing, but also to spread the message that sometimes over familiarity causes us to lose. I'd like to acknowledge all the supporters here tonight. I know it's slightly uncomfortable, but that's all part of the struggle too. It's slightly warm, that's all part of the struggle too. So just bear with us for a few more moments. There are a lot of people here today, and I'm thinking that most of you are here because you've been supporters of the Organization for Black Struggle. Two members of the Organization for Black Struggle and one member of the Black United Front, mother passed away earlier this week. And Miss B, as she has affectionately been called by all of us, was buried today, and some of us attended the funeral. She made all the anniversary celebrations. So it's kind of sad, you know, for her not to be here. But I know that Miss B's spirit is with us, and we loved her very much. I want to make a special appeal right now. Loretta talked somewhat about the attacks on black women. We know that they happen in a very real way here in St. Louis. We had one of our 15-year-old kids brutalized by 8 to 10 white policemen from out of 6th District. So we know what she's talking about is not something that we heard about. We actually know that that happened. But also, there's a young woman who's been in prison for the last 5 years that we need not forget. And every chance that the Organization for Black Struggle has, we try to remind people that she's still there. And I'm talking about Ellen Reasonover. And for those of you who are not familiar with her case, I'm not going to go into the gory details, but it's been a hellish kind of a nightmare for both her and her family. She came forward in response to police call regarding a burglary and murder at a service station. She had been there previously and thought perhaps she could give some information. She became the prime suspect in that case. And not only did she become the prime suspect, she was sent to trial, convicted, given 50 years without parole, and that's where she is right now today. What we have done recently, because we filed an appeal in U.S. federal courts to try to open the case back up, she's already exhausted all her appeals here in Missouri, and we didn't expect much justice here in Missouri because we know this has got to be probably one of the racist states in the country. That's why all those right-wing or anti-abortion people are picking Missouri to come here. That's what is fertile grounds here for that kind of behavior. But I don't want us to forget, Ellen. I'm going to ask somebody to come up here and kind of help me through this. Charmel, can you come up here with me for a minute? Because I think the visual sometimes is more powerful than the words. This little beautiful child is Ellen's daughter, Charmel. She was only 2 in 1983 when Ellen was railroaded to prison. Now I think you all must understand what it means for a child to be raised without her mother. I think you know what that means. And so tonight, you all committed yourself to helping the OBS youth in their struggle throughout life. But we need to get a mother out of jail, and we need to get her out real soon. If you haven't signed the petitions, I want you to do that before you leave. Take some with you, reproduce them. But right now, what I'm asking you to do, and we're going to go on with the program, I'm not going to make a real big deal about this. We're going to send some buckets around. Whatever you have, I want you to give. Because the legal fees for this kind of case, as you very well know, are mounting. And if we're going to have the kind of investigators and legal defense that we need, it's going to cost money. And there are some new leads in the case, but we have to be able to investigate each and every one of them. So I want some of the OBS youth to grab some buckets here. We're going to continue on the program. I want you to quietly put those dollar bills in there. And try to be as quiet youth as possible. I hear some jingling. I said dollar bill. That way we can be real quiet. But as you're giving, I want you to remember Charmel, who's been waiting for her mother for 5 years. We ought to make a commitment by the end of this year that Ellen will be returned to us. Okay? So I'm going to call Kitty back up here, the mistress of ceremonies, and I want Charmel, you grab a bucket and get around there and let people talk to you. Kitty, I'm going to turn this over. Thank you for your support. Keep your ears and eyes open for more on the Ella Reasonover case. And I know Onion's going to help us out with this as much as he can.
One of the things I did not mention is that we've got a photographer back there in the back who will take your picture for $5. Part of that money goes to help OBS in our struggle. I hope you go back there and get your picture taken. What I'd like to do is present to you some of the people who made this celebration possible. The 9th anniversary celebration planning committee. Would you please stand as I call your name? Mr. Richard Doggett, chairperson of political action. Jamala Rogers, co-chairperson. Carol Perry. Dorothy Cushenberry. And last but not least, me, Kitty Henderson. Other members of the OBS
out tonight. Freeman Bosley and Tim Pearson, Circuit Clerk of St. Louis. Marcus Malcolm Shule and Mama Nada. The Youth Organization for Unity and Respect, Khatib Wahid. Blessed Sacrament, Father Bob and Harvey Davis. I guess we can kind of save the applause till later because I can list of important people here. Aunts and uncles, Rosa Campbell, Luther Morgan, older person in Bowling Acres, Trim, Suzanne Bates, Mike Roberts, and his campaign people. And Olivia Young, who is waging a sex discrimination case against St. Louis University. Famous radio personality, Ellen Hart. Betty Thompson, the U City Council person. Ivory Perry, an activist. Michael Lewis Bay, and members of the Morris Sign Temple, including Veronica Ross Bay, the mother of the 15-year-old girl who was brutalized by the police in the 6th District. She's right back there. Bill Bailey, a longtime activist, founder of the Civil Rights Movement. Associated Black Collegians, Veronica Jones, University of Missouri, St. Louis. All right. Black Student Association, SIUE, the Nation of Islam. Alice Centauri and Lois Barrett, New Jewish Agenda. The Black United Front, Earl Brown. The family of Ellen Reasonover, Rainbow Coalition. The Frederick Douglass Institute. Nate Mosley from GM in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and his entourage. Sophia Charbin, an All-African People's Revolutionary Party. Terry Kennedy, candidate for alderman in the 18th Ward. Zaki Baruti, Norman Seeing, University of Missouri Chancellor's Office. Another thing I want to announce that in 1990, we will be having our 10th anniversary celebration. I would like for all of you to come out and join us and bring 3 more friends, every one of you. Back at the back booth, table rather, the Culture Craft, Mr. Ivory Perry is sitting back there, and he's got his book on sale. We have a Black Seeds calendar on sale back there, and a lot of visiting vendors. So please go back and check out the Culture Craft table. Now, during dinner, and we will be serving dinner pretty soon, we will have a fashion show, so that those people who are not in line will have something to do. Now the fashions are by Nubian Queen, fashions by Johari, and she's fantastic. See? Since there is so many people here, we need some kind of order of how we're going to get this dinner served. And what I would like is for this first row to go and get in line. There will be 2 lines. One is a vegetarian side, and the other one is a carnivore side. This row here should go down first, and the rest of you should stay seated. Until I call your roll. Would you please do that?
Look, we want to ask people, would you please remain seated? Let's bear along with us now. We came this far, and let's go ahead on and finish up and have a real good day. But we do want you to be seated because there's any number of people back here, and we get it want these two tables right here to go back first. And we do need the aisles cleared for people to do that. And if in fact that's done, then we can feed you as soon as we possibly can. There will be 2 rows, so please.
Swallow your food and come on up. While we're waiting, on February 3rd and 4th, Operation Rescue will be in town. We're asking people to meet up and rally with us. If you need more information about the rally and march, go to the back table.